Parshas Acharei-Mos. So this year, I should say, it's not connected. It's not Acharei-Mos Kedoshim. It's just Acharei-Mos. And the parsha begins that it was Acharei-Mos Shnei Bnei Aharon, after the death of the two sons of Aaron. The two sons of Aaron that we know, Nadav and Avihu, they died. For what reason? So I think we know many of the reasons. The reasons being that they brought a Eish Zar into the Beis HaMikdash. They brought a carbon without being commanded to. But there's an interesting medrash that adds on a reason. And the medrash says that you know why? The reason that Nadav and Avihu met their horrible death was because they chose not to get married. They decided, no time for marriage. We're dedicating our life to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem. Therefore, says the Medrash, that's why they were nifter. And the question is obvious. We know so many reasons are brought down. Whether, like we said, is they brought an Eish Zar, they weren't commanded to go in, whether some Midrashim say they drink alcohol, whatever the reason is. But where does it come from, this Medrash that teaches us? It's because they didn't get married. They weren't. What exactly does that mean? So to give a very an easy answer that really brings us in to a lot of the times events, etc., is based on an Yismach Moshe, that there's a Gemara in Brachos. It's famous that there are different people throughout history that have this ideology. We're not going to get married. We're going to sit, whether it's because they wanted to devote their life to Hashem, whether it's because they saw b'nevuah that their children will not be appropriate. We know go all the way back to the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. What happened over there? They separated. They felt if they're going to kill all the boys, what's the point of getting married? So one of those people was Chizkiyahu HaMelech. And Chizkiyahu HaMelech was told by the Navi Yeshayahu that the reason why he was so sick was because he didn't have children. He chose not to have children. A lengthy discussion over there. But the one line that we're going to take out is that Yeshayahu HaNavi tells him, you weren't Isaac in Kiyom Ha'olam. What does it mean to have children? It means that we're sustaining the world. Explains the Yismach Moshe. And with this, we'll answer a question and we'll be able to move on. Nadav and Avihu were incredible people. Chizkiyahu HaMelech was an incredible person. Because he didn't have children, they were worthy to be killed. What happened to the fact that Hashem runs this world with Midas HaRachamim? Don't we know that Hashem waits and he never punishes and he gives us second chances? So why? It's true they didn't get married, but why was that a reason they were to die? Explains the Yismach Moshe that in reality, Hashem wants to run the world with Midas HaRachamim. But that's only if you subscribe to being part of this world. What does it mean being part of this world? That means that when we are interested in the world continuing like Hashem wants, when we are doing our part to further this world, Hashem says, oh, you made a mistake. You did something wrong. No problem. Rachamim, mercy. I'll give you some time. But if we come and we say, no, I'm not dealing with continuing this world. I have my own agendas. I want to just learn, says Nadav and Avihu. We don't want to get married. Says Chizkiyahu HaMelech, the children aren't going to be good. I'm not going to have children. Says Hashem, you don't want to further my world? I'm not going to deal with you with Rachamim. So in reality, yes, Nadav and Avihu, what did they do wrong? They did all those Averos maybe. But the final straw that broke the camel's back was because they weren't furthering this world. Therefore, Hashem didn't have Rachamim on them, says the Yismach Moshe. And from here, we see something incredible. We know the world stands on many things, but particularly, famously, we know Al Shleisha Dvarim Ha'ilam I made ala Torah, v'ala avoda, v'al gemilas chasadim. So that's all we have to say. We have to deal with these three things. If we're furthering the world's creation, if we're furthering the world's existence, of course, in the simple form, it shows us what it means to deal with our children, to deal with our families. What does it mean to further the world? Which means, Purvu Kiyama Ilam, children, chinuch. We all know people that we teach Torah to become our children. So if someone doesn't have children, it could be the fact that they help other kids, other children, other people. But we have to realize that if we're furthering Hashem's world, then Hashem will give us rachamim. So whether it's again with our own children, giving us a little extra energy, after a long Pesach, dealing with all the kids and maybe the grandkids and the relatives and everyone else. And sometimes we say, oy vey, how can I do this? Realize we're furthering Hashem's world. Hashem will give us rachamim. Hashem will give us mercy. And of course, that's all we need is rachamim. And aside for that, let's also focus on the things the world stands on. And finally, and we conclude, we're about to talk about the halachas of Sfira. We're dealing in a difficult time in Klal Yisrael's history. We know Talmidei Rabbi Akiva leinagu kavod zelazeh, whatever that means on their level. But let's realize that there has to be an added focus on a little bit more kavod zeh lozeh, a little more honor, a little more respect, a little more space, a little more understanding. Yes, they're right, they're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. What does it mean? What does it mean to go with the extra mile? It means even when the other person is wrong, still, you have to give them kavod. If we give people honor, if we give people respect, if we give people the space they need, if we bend over a little bit backwards for other people, we'll be fixing that horrible sin that happened so many years ago, that created the avilos that we're in right now, and hopefully, ultimately, herald in the Beis Hamikdash b'siyata dishmaya.